Today we're taking you to the Palmetto State to step inside 4 homes in Charleston, South Carolina, each shaped by creativity, comfort, and personal style. First, we're visiting Carmel Phillips, a blogger and author whose layered, story-filled home blends old-world charm with bold pattern, meaningful vintage finds, and a deep love of books and color.
I scored this coffee table at Goodwill for $10. Do not sleep on Goodwill. You never know what treasures you are going to find.
Next, we step inside the light-filled apartment of Lexi Palmer, a vegan food creator who has embraced a cozy Southern lifestyle through warm interiors and comforting recipes.
With moving down here, I knew we were gonna go in a little bit of a different direction, styling-wise. I love Martha Stewart and coastal living. I'm a huge Pinterest girly, and so I knew I wanted to add a lot of those coastal Nancy Meyer touches to our apartment.
Then we visit artist Raven Roxanne, whose Charleston home is a joyful reflection of her creative upbringing filled with bold color and personal details.
I wanted it to just be very cozy, very cave-like. This is where we watch movies. A lot of the house is bright and airy, which I love, and my husband kind of likes cozier spaces, so this was kind of the cozier space for the home.
And finally, we explore the maximalist apartment of Sadie Loving, whose vibrant space is inspired by her artist mother and brought to life through handmade artwork, playful details, and thoughtful touches designed for sharing with friends.
This is such a classic Charleston porch, and that was one of the things that I was dying for. It does get really hot here in Charleston, so it's great to sit out here and just take in the fresh air.
These homes capture the warmth, creativity, and unmistakable charm of Charleston living, personal, expressive, and full of heart. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Today we're in sunny South Carolina visiting the home of content creator Carmel Phillips, who's filled her new build house with layers of personality and old world charm. From a bold leopard print sofa to a moody book-lined library, Carmel's home celebrates color, pattern, and meaningful secondhand treasures collected over time. About 15 years ago, she launched her blog Our Fifth House while making her family's 5th home in Lexington their own. Since then, her community followed along as she's transformed homes 6 and now 7.
I haven't done our 7th house yet, but these are 6 houses that we've called home over the years, and they're really sentimental and special to me. I love when the walls of a home tell your story with your art, and so these are just priceless to me.
Each one reflecting her family's personality. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Carmel. Welcome to my South Carolina home. Come on in. Hi, I'm Carmel Phillips, and I'm an interior design content creator. You can find me at Our Fifth House. Welcome to my home. I started a blog in 2010 called Our Fifth House when we moved into Our Fifth House in Lexington, Kentucky. Even though we're currently living in our 7th house, I probably should have put a little more thought into naming my blog, but I didn't foresee it becoming a business. It started as a hobby. And anyway, I love interiors, and I especially am passionate about giving your home personality. So my husband and I, we've moved around a lot. This is our 7th house, and we, for the first time ever, moved to Charleston, South Carolina because we just wanted to. All the other moves that we've done in the past have been for work-related reasons. But this is a place we've always wanted to live, so we decided to put our house on the market in Lexington, Kentucky, and move here. And first we lived in a different house, our 6th house, and I just was on a bike ride one day and I saw a lot come on the market, and I decided to make a phone call, and we ended up building a house. So that's kind of how our 7th house came to be. It wasn't really something that we were necessarily looking for, but it just felt like the right opportunity at the time. My main goal when we were building this house, I personally really love older homes. So my whole goal was to create or build a house that was new and modern, but also had an old soul. So you'll see that in a lot of the finishes that I chose. I just wanted it to look like it's been here for a long time, even though it's a new house. Welcome to our entry. When we were building this house, I knew I wanted a black railing, just very simple, clean, black and white. So that's kind of what this space is. And I wanted to do this big molding treatment on the wall to kind of draw your eye up to the vaulted ceiling. But I also wanted to keep some things feeling like they've been here for a long time. So I found these on Etsy, and I just absolutely love them. They're my favorite detail in our entry foyer. And I feel like they make the staircase feel a little old and not so fresh and new. And then this, I love pairing modern pieces with older pieces. So I love this little vignette. Again, just very simple, clean, black and white, a little bit of brass. But this I scored, I love shopping secondhand, and I scored this at a consignment store. And then I also picked this up while I was out thrifting, and I just love, this was from Goodwill. And there's actually not a plug here, but I'm using like a magic light bulb here, which works great. And anyway, I love this like very clean, simple vignette. The rug I've had for a really long time. I just really love a stripe, a bold black and white, and I loved that this felt a little whimsical and a little kind of out of the box. It's kind of a crazy stripe, and then instead of just a simple classic stripe. So it just really makes a statement, especially in a space where there's not a lot going on pattern-wise, except for this rug. This art piece is from Minted, and I just really love the abstract and the colors. But I also love that Minted, you can choose any size that you want basically. And I wanted something really oversized here. I love silhouettes, and these are cut by the same person who cut my silhouette at Disneyland when I was a little girl. So she signed my daughter's because she retired in 2007. But anyway, these are very special to me. And then my mom is an artist, and so I put her this piece here in between them. Now we're heading into our living room. So I've always loved a shell mantle, and I knew when we were building this house that I wanted to do it in this home, but it took me a few years to collect all of these shells from our local beaches. So I finally collected all the shells that I was going to use, and I started this project in January, and I love how it turned out. Continuing on with the black and white that I have kind of throughout my home, I added some black grass cloth wallpaper to the back of these shelves, which really makes a lot of the accessories on the shelves pop. Most of the accessories have been thrifted, but I also have some really sentimental pieces like my dad's dog tag and some things that have been gifted to me over the years. The piano I found on Facebook Marketplace a few years ago, and I just loved it. It was basically free. I just had to pay for someone to ship it to get it here. And I recovered the bench with an old cowhide, and I just really love it. My daughter was taking lessons, and she's not doing that anymore, but I love a piano in a home. And then the art is just more shells. I'm a big shell lover and collector, and so I just kind of put this gallery to wall together with more shells that I collected. Almost all of the furniture in our living room was purchased secondhand, except for this sofa. When we moved into our house, we actually were using a love seat, which was too small for the space, but something that one of my favorite designers said years ago, this is gonna age me, but Nate Berkus was on Oprah, and I was 20 something at the time, and he said he was talking about how he lived in his apartment without a sofa for a while until he found like the one, and he talked about how having something, a quality sofa was really important. And so anyhow, I knew I wanted a leopard print sofa, and it just took me a while to find the right one. I was hoping to find something secondhand that I could have recovered, but I ended up finding this sofa on the Inside, which is one of my favorite sources for upholstered furniture. And This was actually a gift to myself when I became an empty nester a year ago. I ordered this like right after my daughter moved away, not because I was waiting for them to move out, but more of just like something to ease my heart after my kids left the nest. So these chairs have been with us since we lived in our second house, and we actually got them free when an office building that my husband used to work at was closing, and they were getting rid of all of the office furniture, and we were able to take these chairs. So they're very special to us. They actually do need to eventually be recovered, but this is the original leather that they came in, and we have just loved these chairs for so many years now. They feel like a part of us. This chair is the other new piece or newer piece of furniture. We purchased this at West Elm a few years ago, and I love that it swivels all the way around. The back is covered in just a solid leather. But I am just a huge fan of a statement chair. I just love a graphic black and white or black and cream, and this chair is a favorite of mine. I love lucite and glass, and I get questions about this coffee table all the time. I actually found it in a vintage shop for $75. It's funny, if you're a thrifter or you shop secondhand, you always remember how much things cost. I don't know why, but anyway, I have loved this table for many years. I've had it now for probably about 10 years, and it was a side table in our old home, and then I use it as a coffee table here in our current home, and I just absolutely love it because visually it kind of disappears and all the accessories get to stand out on this table. And I like to keep the styling pretty simple, so I'm big on books. I love having books everywhere. I love to collect matchbooks, and I always love to have a little fresh floral on my coffee table. I think lighting is one of the easiest ways to add your personal touch to a home. And I think sometimes for hard fixtures or like hardwired fixtures in a home, people kind of tend, if they know they're going to move, they tend to stay away from wanting to replace those, but they make such a huge impact and you can always take them down. So that's what I did with this fixture. It used to live in the office of our sixth house, and then when we were building this house, I knew I wanted to take it and bring it to be in the living room of our seventh home. This is actually one of the DIYs that is in my book, If These Walls Could Talk, and I just took leftover wallpaper from our dining space and wallpapered the fronts of this dresser. And I love in this large mirror that you get the reflection of the dining room, and it kind of like calls back to that wallpaper. I've always loved a white kitchen, and I knew that that's what I was going to do when we decided to build a home. And I love to add special hardware, and so I love the campaign pulls on our cabinet drawers. As much as I love marble, I opted to go with quartz because I love how durable and maintenance-free this material is. And again, just keeping with a white, clean, simple backdrop, I opted to go with white subway tile. Because we live in an open floor plan, I really wanted the kitchen to feel quiet and not super loud in the space, so that other pieces and other spaces in this open space could stand out more. In the vein of keeping things quiet in the kitchen, that's why I opted to go with paneled refrigerator. That's why I opted to go with a paneled refrigerator, because it just blends in with the wall and you don't really notice that that's a refrigerator. While I love a white kitchen, I couldn't resist having a pop of color somewhere, and so I opted to go with blue on our island, and I love how it looks with the gold hardware. So the range hood actually came, it was just white, and I felt like it was missing something, just kind of got lost, and I wanted it to have a little more presence. So we actually used leftover wood from our floors to kind of trim it out a little bit, which kind of gave it that little pop that it needed. These brass pendants are from Restoration Hardware, and they're one of the first pieces that I chose for our kitchen. I just love the classic, simple style. So this is our pantry, and this was actually one of my most favorite rooms in our home to design. When we were in the building process, I was just so excited to get my hands on this space. And the wine storage is probably my favorite piece because I feel like it feels like decor, but it's also very functional for us. I opted to go with plain white countertops, and this space, I wanted it to feel really like its own room, separate from our kitchen, with the dark and moody with the backsplash and the color of the cabinetry, which ties in with our kitchen island. My favorite detail on the wine storage, apart from just the actual design, is these campaign details that I added, which tie in with the campaign hardware in our kitchen. How would I describe my personal style? You tell me. I feel like it's just a big mix. And I actually feel like I'm more about decorating by vibes than by interior design styles. I am really big on kind of asking myself how I want my home to feel and how I want my spaces to feel. And then I kind of design my home based around that. And so I would say I love bold, warm, and comfortable interiors. Sometimes interiors that feel a little moody or whimsical depending on the space. But I would say my style is probably eclectic if I had to choose a design style. I feel like each house has its own personality. And so, yeah, every home that we've lived in, while we're putting our own stamp on it, it definitely has a different vibe based on the house that we're in. Honestly, I was not someone who really cared that much about interiors until I became a homeowner myself. I wasn't one of those teenagers like my daughter who has always cared about what her bedroom looks like. I really could not have cared less when I was younger. It wasn't until we moved into our first house that I started to care. And then becoming a mom also, I wanted to make our house feel special for our children. And so that's kind of where my love of interiors sort of started from. But I've always loved to read, and one of my favorite things about fiction specifically is the setting. I am always drawn to homes and the way they're described in books, and some of my favorite stories, like Little Women, the house is like a character in the story. And so I think that's kind of where also my love of interiors kind of started in a different way than maybe other people, because it really started with loving settings of stories and then wanting to create that in my own home. So initially the ceiling was a black grass cloth wallpaper, and we had a minor leak around one of the vents. And so I ended up just painting over the wallpaper with this blue that ties in with the kitchen island and the pantry, and I love it even more than when it was the black grass cloth that I originally chose. So sometimes when mishaps happen, it ends up being better than what you originally planned. Typically, I like to add pattern with window treatments, but in this dining room, we back up to woods and there's just a lot of green. I didn't want to block that natural light or take away from that. So instead I added wallpaper, and I love the grass cloth stripe. This table was actually my desk in our previous home. It's a dining table, but I use it as a desk. And so I definitely am a big fan of using a table as a desk, because you never know when you might need to use it as a table one day. Anyway, it's burlwood, and I love burlwood furniture. It has a leaf extension so it can extend, but it's one of my favorite pieces in our home. And then the chairs, I wanted to mix it up. I love a little mix of chairs around a dining table. And so these are from the Inside, which is also the same company that I used for our sofa. And then these black chairs are from Restoration Hardware, and I recovered the cushions to kind of flow with the slipcover chairs. I've always loved a crystal chandelier, and I knew that that's what I wanted for our dining space. This is from Christorama. I found this old bookshelf on Facebook Marketplace, and I thought it would be perfect for this little spot. My husband collects vintage barware, and so it's just a fun way to display these pieces in our dining space. And then this is something that I've had framed for a long time. We actually got engaged at the Chinese restaurant where we had our first date, and he proposed with a fortune cookie. Now we're heading into our office, which also is our guest bedroom. So my big thing when we were building this house is that I didn't want to have any hardly used spaces. And I feel like for us, at least, our guest bedroom doesn't get used all that often. So one of the first things that we did when we were designing the house is we ordered this sofa from American Leather, which is the most comfortable sleeper sofa maybe on the planet. It is so comfortable. All of our guests love it, but it's really nice because when we don't have guests staying with us, this room operates as my husband's home office, and then it very easily transitions to a guest bedroom when we have overnight guests. This color is called Trad Street Green, and it's from the historic Charleston collection, which a lot of the colors in my home came from that collection, and I love this green, especially with the gold hardware. So we had all of this trim added to the walls because I wanted it to have an old feel, even though it's a new home, and the molding really kind of takes it to that. This desk is from Restoration Hardware, and I love the masculine vibe of the metal, and that's kind of, since it's my husband's office, that's kind of what we wanted in here. This is an old piece that belonged to my husband's grandparents, and we wanted to use it in this space, but I also wanted it to kind of disappear into the wall because the space is not that large. So I chose to paint it the same color as the walls. So it has its own moment, but it also feels kind of quiet. I scored this coffee table at Goodwill for $10. Do not sleep on Goodwill. You never know what treasures you are going to find. And then the zebra rug is from CB2. I knew I wanted a large piece over the sofa in here, and I've always loved an abstract collage, so I kind of decided to try my hand at making one myself. And then I also framed it out, and it's one of my favorite pieces, but it originally started out as just essentially being an experiment as a placeholder until I could find the piece. And now I love it so much that I've stopped looking for anything to replace it. Right off the office is this bathroom, which makes it really nice when we have guests, so they have their own private bathroom. And I wanted to keep the design in here pretty neutral since there's such a bold color of green, or there's so much color in the guest bedroom. So I opted to go with grass cloth on the walls, and because this is a bathroom that doesn't see a lot of usage in terms of steam from a shower, the grass cloth has been great in here, and I love the texture that it adds to a mostly pattern and texture-free space. The mirror was another Goodwill find, and I love it. I had a just basic builder mirror here before, and this really like upped the whole style of the bathroom, and it was like $5. In the hallway that leads to our bedroom, I used the same wallpaper that we used in our guest bathroom because I love a callback to other spaces in a home. Just about everything in this vignette was thrifted, although there are a few pieces that were made or gifted that I really love. This is a card that my daughter made for me when she was in 4th grade, and she just kissed a card with my lipstick on, and it's one of my favorite things ever. But my husband's always wanted a TV in our bedroom, and I told him the only way I would do it is if I could do a big gallery wall around it to kind of disguise the fact that it's a TV. But I just love a gallery wall in a home. This chair was actually my office chair in our last home, and I love, again, a statement chair, and so it's perfect little reading spot in our bedroom. And then this is a picture that I took when we were in Italy. I'm a big fan of taking architectural pictures, even if you're not a professional photographer, because it makes for great art, especially in a gallery wall. So our 4-poster bed we've literally had since our son was born, and our son's 21. And it has sentimental value, but the funny thing is I would never buy it again. So we did the whole like buy a bedroom suit thing that people used to do, and worst decision we ever made. We've slowly sold off some of the pieces and created more of a collected look, but I opted to keep the bed because I just really love pieces that have a history, and especially pieces that have a story. And so for us, this has a special story because it's been with us for so many years. And when we moved into this house, I decided to paint it black, and I have no regrets because now I really love it. I love a mix of patterns, and this William Morris print was just calling my name. My husband's not a huge fan of florals, and I think the only reason why he's cool with it is because I've got this graphic print on the bolster. So it kind of adds a little masculine energy to the floral print. So our bedroom doesn't actually have a very large footprint, so I wanted to take advantage of the vertical space to make the room feel grand. And so We opted to do a vaulted ceiling, and I knew I wanted to do something special on the ceiling, and I love grass cloth, but I also really love a black ceiling. So I opted to do this black grass cloth, and it just is so beautiful during the day, especially when the natural light hits. But also it's really special when the chandelier is on at night, and it kind of has a different vibe in the evening. I found this piece secondhand, and I just absolutely fell in love with the framing, maybe even more so than what it actually is, but I just love the lucite frame on this piece. So my blogging journey is a little wild. I started my blog in 2010 when we moved to Lexington, Kentucky into our 5th house. And it really just started as a hobby. I have always loved to document. I was a big scrapbooker. I'm totally aging myself here, but I've always loved journaling and, just documenting what we're doing. And so starting the blog was just a fun way. There was a lot of things. That house was built in the 90s, and it just needed updating. And so I just thought it would be fun to have a place to document what we were going to do with that house. And then it sort of slowly turned into a business as I started making connections online and realizing that there were a lot of people kind of doing the same thing that I was doing. And then came Pinterest, and then came Instagram. And so it's kind of just evolved slowly, but it's been a really fun ride seeing how the space has changed over the years. My book, If These Walls Could Talk, came out in August of 2025, and it's all about giving your home personality. And in it, I share kind of my own journey to finding my style, as well as tips to help readers learn how to find their unique style. But it's really all about creating a home that is a reflection of you and your family, and kind of like throwing out the trends and even like the typical interior design styles, and really just honing in on how you want your home to feel and let it be a reflection of what you love. I hope that what my home says is welcome and make yourself at home. So my husband and I have separate closets, and he's just as much of a clothes horse, actually probably more so than me, but his closet is a mess, so you won't be seeing that. But both of our closets are pretty awesome, and this was absolutely one of my favorite spaces in addition to our pantry to design. I just had a field day with doing it in this very soft blush pink and having this dresser as sort of an island. And then this is also my office. So I had this little built-in desk put in. I originally had wanted to do like a vintage vanity, but I'm really glad I opted to do this because it's a great workspace. And then I actually used burlwood contact paper to cover the desk, which has held up really nicely. But this is my special workspace. The lampshade I made literally by painting my lips red with paint and kissing the lampshade, but I've always loved a lips print, and it's one of my favorite little pieces in my space. To make this little office nook feel a little separate from the closet, I opted to do the wallpaper only in this space, and I love how it turned out. I purchased this from Anthropologie. So for the shoe shelves on this side, I opted to do this like slant, which is really nice because you can cram a lot of shoes in here but still see them really nicely. And then there's this edge here to kind of keep them from falling off. And then I love these brass and lucite rods that really kind of help with outfit planning. This is a secondhand find that I'm using as a jewelry storage piece, and I absolutely love it. I added that same burlwood contact paper to the back of it, and it just holds everything, but also in a really stylish way. And now we're heading into our main bathroom. With our windows being black, I opted to go with black shutters, and I really love how they look in this space. They give us lots of privacy, but then they also let in a lot of light. And I only did them halfway because that's really the only place that we really need the privacy here. And then I've always loved a clawfoot tub, so this was one of the main things that I chose for our bathroom first and kind of built the entire space around the tub. The chandelier I scored on Facebook Marketplace, and it came from an old house downtown, and I absolutely love it. It's not technically damp rated, but I don't mind the little bit of rust because to me, it's just patina. I've got a lot of black and white in our home, and so I wanted to continue that in our main bathroom. So I opted for this white Corian with a black vanities. And then after we moved in, I added the campaign hardware around this section here to kind of make that section feel a little more special. Now we're gonna walk down this hallway and I'm gonna show you our powder room and our laundry room. Since our powder room is close to our entry foyer, I wanted to keep that sort of black and white thing going in here. So I added the tile myself after we moved in, and I love how classic and simple that looks. And then I just have always loved a gallery wall in a small space. So I really plan to just continue to fill this space with art. But this is where we are so far. This is a piece that I found at Goodwill and I loved it, but it was a little warped. So I'm a huge Swiftie. And so I painted one of my favorite lyrics from Getaway Car on the front, and I just love how I kind of put my own spin on it. It's not like a painted, it's just like a print on canvas. So I didn't like ruin anyone's original art, but anyway, I love it so much. And all of these pieces are pieces that I've collected pretty much while thrifting. I'm also a huge fan of Janet Hill, and I have quite a few of her prints. And a friend of mine recently gifted me this beautiful original from Janet Hill, who I just adore. The mirror was something that I found in a vintage shop, and it's actually one of the very first things that I purchased for our house when we were in the building process. I just knew that I wanted to have older pieces in our home, and I love it so much. And then this is another piece of art that my mom painted. It's actually a card that she sent me, and then I just used some leftover grass cloth from a sample of wallpaper to kind of give it a matte. I love a little whimsy and a little something unexpected in a space, and so this was a labor of love, but so worth it. I love it so much. I painted these stripes, and with the doorknob, I feel like it just has a little bit of like an Alice in Wonderland vibe, and it's one of my favorite things in our home. Our laundry room was one of the very first rooms that I decorated in our home when we moved in. The walls were white. I love the checkered floor, which definitely, again, with the black and white theme from the entry foyer to the powder room, I love that connection. But I knew I wanted to go bold in here, and so I started with this gorgeous peel and stick wallpaper from Spoonflower, and then added the molding, and I opted to forego traditional cabinetry in our laundry room because I'm short, and a lot of times I just couldn't reach the cabinets over the washer and dryer. So instead I just did this shelf, which works really great to kind of hold things here. And then I also have this vintage stereo cabinet that belonged to my husband's grandparents, and that is where I keep all of our laundry supplies. This is actually a curtain rod that I'm using as a drying rack. It works great, and I always get questions about it whenever I share this space on social media. But it's just a lucite rod that I used for curtains in our other home, and I just repurposed it in our laundry room to hang things when they need to be hung to dry. This is one of the very first projects I ever did on my blog when I first started my blog back in 2010. And so this chair has sentimental value, but I just spray painted it gold. I love the cane, and it used to live in the entry foyer of our 5th house, and it's come with us to every home that we've lived in since. And then this actually hides the electrical panels. So I wanted something really lightweight, but I didn't want to continue the wallpaper over here. However, I did want to continue the pattern. So I actually purchased a little bit of this velvet, which is the same pattern as the wallpaper in here. And then I just created this piece of art to hang here, which is really lightweight to take down whenever we need to access the electrical panels. Just outside the laundry room are these house portraits that I had done not that long ago. I haven't done our 7th house yet, but these are 6 houses that we've called home over the years, and they're really sentimental and special to me. I love when the walls of a home tell your story with your art, and so these are just priceless to me. And now we're head upstairs and I'll show you our library. I love this room so much. So my husband wanted a media room and I wanted a library, so we combined the two, and it is perfect for us. I knew I wanted this space to feel moody, and so I chose this really dark blue. It's Hunley from the same historic Charleston collection of paint colors, and I just love it so much paired with all of the other things that we have in the space. The majority of the books on this wall are books that belong to my husband's grandparents, so they're all really old and really special things that we've had for many, many years. And then moving over to this wall, this is a collection of some of my favorite books. I have my own kind of method for organizing my books, and these are my 5-star reads, and then I have some of my favorite nonfiction here. The books up there are all books, like classic books that I've been collecting for a while. And then these 2 shelves are my TBR, although I get distracted by the next new thing, and so they often just get shelved until I'll eventually get around to reading them. These are 4-star reads that I really love, but they're just not quite 5 stars for me. I definitely have my own way of organizing my books. This leather sofa we've had for many years. We purchased it when we were living in our 3rd home, which was in Pittsburgh, and it was actually a floor sample from Restoration Hardware, and it has held up great. I will always love a brown leather sofa, especially in a moody space like a library. The library ladder I scored on Facebook Marketplace, and I had been on the hunt for one for a really long time, but it took me a few years to find one in my price range. But I knew, because there's a big door between the shelves in the space, that I didn't want to do like a traditional rolling ladder, and I wanted something that was kind of like standalone but also rolled. So this is awesome and works really well in this space. The books on this shelf, the other side of the pocket doors, this is basically my lending library. So these are all a mix of books that I either want to read or books that I've read that I don't mind if anyone takes and doesn't bring back. My husband is from Kentucky, and he's big into bourbon, in case you can't tell. And so I wanted to have this little moment up here, and I love the antique glass subway tile backsplash. And then I built these floating shelves and added this railing to kind of give it like an old feeling. This cash register belonged to my husband's grandfather, and it was in his lumber shop. The rug I scored at an estate sale a few years ago, and then the ceiling I covered in this metallic wallpaper that I just love. A lot of people come in here and think that it's hand painted, but it's just wallpaper. Now I'll show you our porch that's off our library. Continuing with the black and white, I opted to go with this black and white hexagonal tile for the floor, and I chose to have it laid to where it creates a stripe pattern as well, because I just love stripes. I call this my reading porch because I love to come out here with a book and a glass of wine or a cup of coffee and just read for as long as I can. But this is also a spot where we like to entertain with friends. This coffee table is one of my favorite DIYs I think I've ever done. I made it a few years ago. I loved this blue tile and the way that it picks up on the blue in the library, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I just decided to go for it, and it turned out awesome. I really honestly feel like home is more than a place, it's about a feeling. And so I'm never, as much as I love our home and I hope that this is our forever home and we don't move for a very, very, very long time, I don't feel attachments to houses, because home to me is about so much more than a physical structure.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Lexi. Welcome to my home in Charleston, South Carolina. Come on in, I can't wait to give you guys a tour.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Lexi Palmer. I'm a full-time content creator who specializes in food and home content, and I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. So we moved here back in September. I'm originally from Illinois, and we moved down here from my boyfriend. He's a professional golfer, And so we were just kind of looking to move somewhere warmer where he could golf full time year round. And so I had never actually been to Charleston, and when we came down to visit, we basically toured 3 apartments, and this was really the only one that got back to us, and so we ended up moving in here in September. Welcome to my living room. I'm going to show you guys all the fun things I've added to this space. Starting off with this massive gallery wall. When we moved into this home, I knew we wanted something to fill in this space, and so I'm a huge gallery wall person. I love different artworks and I love collecting different pieces. And so a lot of the pieces, as you'll see, are local Charleston artists. And so this is from a store downtown called Candlefish, which I love. This is a local artist. I think she's in college, which is super fun to have some of their pieces. And then a lot of it too is thrifted. And so I love to thrift different frames. That whole picture frame was all thrifted, which was fun. And just different artworks to kind of tie in the coastal vibes into our apartment. This couch was actually a necessity. Our old couch got a massive rip in it, and so right as we were moving, we needed a couch really fast, so we actually just ordered this off of Amazon, and it's a pretty comfy couch. But then obviously we had to add lots of different colors and pillows to it, and so we found these ones at a really fun boutique here in Charleston, and I just love lots of scalloped edges and different floral prints, as you can see with this pillow here, and I love how it all just came together. So this coffee table is something I'm super passionate about. I love having a fun coffee table setup, and so I like mixing in different wicker baskets and books just to add different textures and colors. I've been on the hunt for the last 6 months to find a glass vase like this, and so I finally found one, I think 2 weeks ago, and it was the perfect vase for these flowers. I think it's beautiful. I love Anthropologie's candles, and so I got this candle from Anthro, and I love the different stripes on it and the little scalloped edges. I thrifted this fun little plate just to add a little bit more texture to it. So then I picked up these beautiful coasters from a girl on Instagram. Her name's Talia. I love her company. They make all of these, and they're all of her own designs, which I think are really fun and just add a fun little detail. Then I found this rug right as we were moving down here, and it's actually just from Home Goods. I saw it and I knew I had to have it. It fits the space perfectly, and this was actually the first piece of blue that we added into the apartment and kind of based everything off of this rug for styling. This is our fun little side table. I've had this since, I want to say I got my first apartment, so maybe 7 years ago, and it's stuck with me the entire time. I am a huge collector of matchbooks. I love finding different ones and collecting them from different restaurants here in Charleston. So I have a couple different fun matchbooks in this little fun shell that I thrifted. And then this is actually a coaster stack. And so I have been on the hunt for this for the last 2 years. I knew I wanted something really cool just to have coasters stacked. So I found this one a couple weeks ago, and I just think it's beautiful, and I love the little details around it. One of the ways I love styling is using candles with different base dishes. I think it adds such a fun layer to things. And so this is just it's actually just a candle dish, and I like adding my candles onto it just to elevate them a little bit. And then this lamp, I love this lamp. It's actually just from Target. And so I think it fits the space really well, and I loved adding it into my home. Then welcome over to my little bar cart area. This is really my fiance's corner of the house. As you can see, we have lots of fun prints here. Again, these are from a local Charleston artist, which I think are super fun, and they add such color to this space. This is a wine rack I actually got from Anthropologie back. It was like, I want to say it was on clearance maybe 5 years ago, and I'm obsessed with it. I've carried it through every apartment, and I just think it fills in the space really well. Over here, we have this fun little dish, and inside of it are cigarettes, but these are actually pencils, which is a fun little addition. And then I actually just got these little martini glasses from a store here in Charleston called Mildred Newberry, and I think they're so beautiful. I obviously had to have them out as a piece of decor. Now this is really my fiance's station. It's all of his bourbon. He's just gotten into it, and so it's been fun to add different collections. And then he is a professional golfer, and so I found this thrifting, I want to say 6 months ago, and it's a little ice bucket. But I thought it was such a fun little addition to add to the space, and yeah. And then one of the ways I wanted to finish off this corner is I really wanted to find like a vintage model car or something like that. And so the other day when I was out, I found this one, and it's an all glass vintage car, and I thought it was just so fun and unique. I hadn't really seen anything like this, and it just finishes the space really well, makes it a little bit more masculine for him, but you know, doesn't clash with my pink. So then this mirror I've also had since my very first apartment. I got it from Target, I want to say 5-6 years ago, and I love adding a layer of mirror to just help brighten up the space. There's not a lot of windows in our living room, and so we just have this one little door, and to have the light from the door bounce off the mirror, I just think helps really brighten it up and open up the area. And then this lamp I had actually got from Goodwill, I think for $5 2 years ago. Then over the years, it's really came with me through each of my apartments. In this apartment, there's not a ton of extra storage, and so I've actually turned this into my hosting table. So underneath, I have all of my glassware and dishware for hosting and making different cocktails for food content. So it's really become our full-time bar cart and hosting cart. This chair is actually my newest obsession in the entire apartment. I just picked it up, I want to say 5 days ago. I saw it and I knew I had to have it. I dragged it through the entire store to come home with me. I just think it fits this space so well, and it bounces off the blue and kind of clashes but also works together. And then over here we have this vase that I thrifted. As you can see, there's a fake flower in it because when you put water in it, I think there's mold on the bottom and it stained my table. So this is always going to be a fake flower in here. And then there's no overhead lights in this apartment at all, and so we had to get creative with lighting, and so we added this fun little circle light onto the TV stand. It's low enough that you can have the light on and still watch TV. It doesn't bother me, but we had to add this for a little bit of extra light in the space. Down here we have these fun wicker baskets just to hold all of my blankets. I'm a huge blanket person, and so there's about 5 shoved in each of these, but that's just a good way to hold our blankets. Then it really fills in the negative space from the TV stand. This plant over here was actually my sister's very first plant she bought in college back in 2018. And we actually used to live together, and when we went our own ways, she moved in with my parents, and so I got to take all of her plants to live with me. And so this plant has been with me since I moved out on my own back in 2020. And I love having it in my space. It reminds me so much of my sister. This is the pot she picked out, and so I've loved that it's just come with me to each of my apartments. As you'll see, we have a beautiful sunroom, and that was really kind of what sold it for us. Just space-wise, it was the biggest apartment that we had toured for the price point. I loved the balcony and the patio, and I just felt like location-wise it was awesome. I loved all of the natural light that comes in, and especially for being a home content creator, I loved being able to add really cozy touches to the whole apartment. With moving down here, I knew we were gonna go in a little bit of a different direction styling-wise. I love Martha Stewart and coastal living. I'm a huge Pinterest girly, and so I knew I wanted to add a lot of those coastal Nancy Meyer touches to our apartment, and so lots of florals, lots of color. I've always been a big color person, and my old apartments used to be pink, and then when I moved in with my fiance, he said no more pink, so we started adding in lots of blues and green tones. It's still very girly. I love a girly home. I love girly finishes, but there's lots of little peaks of blue and greens now, and I love a mix of neutral with florals and colors. Right up my living room is my breakfast nook, and this has actually become my favorite room in the house. This corner of the house was probably my problem child of the house. It was very dark, there's no lights over here, and there's only one overhead lighting, and so I wanted to create a space that really filled the room and also brightened it, and so we brought in lots of different colors and textures to the space to really just fill it in. Our plate wall is the newest addition to the breakfast nook corner. I have been seeing these all over my Pinterest feed, and I've always wanted to create a plate wall, and so what we did is we started thrifting different plates, and I have some of these that are also from Anthropology, and when doing a plate wall, it's usually lots of just blue and white china, and I wanted to do something a little bit different, and so we added all of these fun different color ones, lots of flower prints, lots of fruit, and I feel like it just ties in the whole space together. This tablecloth we actually just got from Piglet in a Bed. I love this company. I think they have such fun, unique prints, and so I think the yellow kind of brings out the different tones from the pillows and really adds to it. I also just got this really fun strawberry vase. I think it's such a unique piece. I love adding little touches of kind of quirkiness into my house and things you wouldn't see in anyone else's home. Same thing goes for these strawberry salt and pepper shakers. I think they're so fun and unique, and they just add a little bit more color to the table. I picked up this swan. I don't even know what it is. We use it for napkins. I think it could be a candle holder. I just thought it was really fun and unique, and so we picked that up, and I think it's super fun to have on the table. One of my favorite things is obviously hosting, and so I love having an area that's already set up and ready to go, and I love having a tablescape ready. We got these really fun plates from a boutique here in Charleston from Candlefish. I love the different prints and texture. I feel like it ties in really well with the tablecloth and the strawberries, and it just adds to the space. And then I added these cute little napkins and I tied a bow on them just to really finish the table setting. And then I picked up these juice glasses. These are both from Anthropology. I think they're so cute, and so I obviously had to add these. When going to pick chairs, I was really struggling with what to get for the space just because a brown chair I think would kind of take away from the essence of the whole nook and corner. We found these and I really didn't know if they were going to clash or work. Getting them in the space though, I think they work really well. I actually am obsessed with them and I think they complement the space really well. And then moving over here, we have a bench nook seating. I built this with my own 2 hands. It is so heavy, but what's nice about it is it actually opens up and it's all storage, and so I have all my vases and extra storage down below, which is a nice addition to the space. This wall, as every other wall, is kind of a grayish white, and so I wanted to add a fun print that didn't take away too much. We picked out this white and blue stripe, and it's a peel and stick wallpaper. I love how it turned out. It adds such brightness to the space and really just ties it all in together. And then this mirror is actually from Hobby Lobby. I knew I wanted a mirror in here just to, again, help kind of bounce off that light. And so we have each mirrors facing each other to help create that bounce to elevate the light in here. And I also feel like it really helps just makes this corner feel a lot bigger. There's no seating on this bench, and so I really wanted to add a comfort and texture through pillows. And so I've added a lot of these pillows from all over. A lot are thrifted and a lot are from either Home Goods, Amazon, and I wanted just a mix of patterns. I love tying in a little bit of the light yellows with the blues and the pink, and I think it just complements it all really well. Moving on to this lamp, I went back and forth on which style, which kind to go to. Again, there's not a lot of light in here, and I wanted something to kind of bring a lot of warmth and light to this space, just it can get a little dark. And so we found this one. I love that the light can peek through the wicker, and I like actually seeing the light bulb. I think that's a fun touch to it, but it doesn't take away from the space. I think it really adds to it. Right off the breakfast nook, we have my favorite corner, and this is my coffee bar station. I saw one video of this coffee bar being made, so I said to my dad I want us to build it. We headed to Home Depot without any plans, and we were there for probably 3 hours putting it all together to build it. He was very angry with me, but it turned out really well. It took the entire summer to build, but I think it was worth it because it turned out really, really good. It's also so heavy that no one can move it by themselves. You need at least 2 people to move it. Since we're at my coffee bar, I figured I'd show you guys how to make my favorite latte. I'm going to show you how to make a Teddy Graham latte. It will change your life. It's the best latte. Starting off, all you need is some brown sugar, some honey, and some cinnamon, and we're going to put all of that into our espresso cup. Okay, so you'll do about a teaspoon worth of brown sugar into your espresso cup, and then about a teaspoon worth of honey into the espresso cup, and then just a dash of cinnamon. Then we're just gonna brew 2 shots of espresso from my Nespresso machine directly into the cup with the brown sugar and the honey. So the reason you wanna brew your espresso directly over the honey and the brown sugar is to melt it all and blend it all. So then all we're gonna do is take a glass straw or a spoon, and then you're just gonna mix it all together to really blend all of those flavors. And fun story, I actually bought this little espresso cup when I was in Barcelona this past spring. The next step is you need a really cute glass and some ice, and we're gonna put it together. Then you'll just add your milk of choice. You could do whole milk, oat milk, whichever milk you like, and add that to the glass. Also, a very important part is you need the brown sugar creamer from Trader Joe's. This one's the best, but I also know Starbucks sells it at Target, so you can also get that one. The last step is you just pour your espresso over the milk and ice. Make sure to add the milk to the glass first, otherwise if you add the straight espresso to ice, it'll break the glass. Now that I made my coffee, I want to show you guys the rest of the coffee bar station. I actually had these made from a girl in Hawaii, and she makes the most beautiful, fun, different colored shelves, and so I thought those were such a fun element to add into the space. I am a strong believer of you need a cute glass and a cute straw to drink your coffee, and so I have all my glass straws up here. And then I also have this fun little coffee book that I added up there just to add a little bit more height to it. This print we found in a flea market. I am obsessed with it. I think it's such a fun little element. I love the saying of it, of what really makes the house. I think that's such a fun touch to it. I have an insane mug and cup collection. It's overflowing, and so I had to add a little bit more storage down here for these. So these are all my favorite mugs shown and presented, just because I think they are kind of pieces of art. This one especially, I think this is so cute. And then I just have all of my other coffee syrups and extra coffee things down below. I used to be a full-time hairdresser. I worked in a salon for about 5 years, and I specialized in wedding hair and updo style like that. And so when I originally got into content creating, I was a full-time vegan food blogger. I did that for, I want to say, 4 years, and it really transitioned when I moved to Charleston, just because there's so much more to film and photograph down here. I really got into the home and just decorating, and I feel like my audience really loved seeing what I was doing with all my home stuff. And especially when it came to food, I loved being able to add lots of little personal touches to food creating with a fun dish and fun like tablecloth around it. So that was kind of what snowballed into changing the direction of my career. But then in the last 2 years, it's really just grown into this platform that I'm really thankful for. Now I'm just gonna take my coffee and we're gonna head into the kitchen, which is right next door to the coffee bar. Welcome to my kitchen. One of my biggest passions is cooking, and so I wanted to create a space where I just felt creative to be in every single day. I knew I needed a cooking corner. I think it's important for any home to have a cooking corner designated spot, and so this is it for me. We added in this really fun checkered cutting board, which I love, and then we have our whole little spice and oil station. I picked up a lot of these from either random stores or from traveling abroad. I just think adding in lots of little touches and elements from different countries is such a fun way to add into cooking. I got this candle from a local company here in Charleston. It smells so good, and I love the different flame of like the flicker of it. And then this over here was a little bit of dead space. I didn't know exactly what to do with it, and so my mom actually came with the idea to add a little kitchen shelf to it. This is such a fun way to add in different cooking things. So this is like a little trellis. I just think it adds such a fun element and fills in this space really well. I got this vase and I've used it as a floral vase for the last year. It's actually from Anthropologie's Valentine's Day collection, but I just love the purple and the hearts. I think it's a fun touch. And then back here is a print from a local store back in my hometown. I just think it's such a unique piece. I've never really seen a print like this, and I love that it's still food and kitchen, but very much on brand for my home. Moving over to my fridge, this is my own little artwork and creation. I wanted to add just a little bit more to this space, and so what I started doing is we thrifted lots of postcards from all over. These are like wallpaper swatches, and then I created different magnets using, this is a bow, seashells, matches. This is a fun print we got at the farmer's market here in Charleston. My friend actually brought these back for me. They're all from Italy, and I think they're just such a fun, unique magnet. I've never seen anything like it. I also just picked this one up in Barcelona this last year. So then moving over to this side of the fridge is our travel side. My fiance is actually from Europe. He was born in Norway, and so I like to add a little bit of touches for him over here. So as you can see, there's a lot of our travel pictures. These are from Norway, Italy, Greece, all over, and then we've also started collecting magnets from everywhere we go together. So this was actually from his sister. He brought me from Spain, and then we just got this one in Barcelona this year. We also have some of our engagement photos up on the fridge since we're recently engaged. And then I just think this picture too, hold on. This was actually my grandma. She used to live in California, was born and raised, and she passed this last February. And so I just loved adding this in. It fits the vibe perfectly, lots of travel. And it's just a fun touch to have her on our fridge as well. So then adding in this rug, I wanted to add a little bit more color just to the floor, and the kitchen's a pretty neutral space anyways. So I found this one and I love the floral prints, and then if you feel it, it's actually super soft, but it's also machine washable, and so I think it does the job really well. This corner over here is kind of our appliance corner. So we have our Wonder Oven, which is the best appliance on the market. I think everyone needs one. And then we have our fun little fruit bowl, which is always overflowing with lots of fruit. I had seen these jars actually all over Pinterest forever, and then the first week when we moved to Charleston, they were here in a boutique, so I had to buy them. I think they are so beautiful, and I just love the conflicting color scheme, but I feel like it works really well together. Next, we have my candle warmer. I swear by a candle warmer now. I think it makes the biggest difference. It makes your candles last, I think, 70% longer or something, which is wild. And then we just picked up this fun new candle from a store here in Charleston, and I think it's so cute with just a little coffee cup on it. Obviously, every kitchen needs lots of cookbooks. These are two of my faves. I love these, and I just love the colors. Next, we have our Smeg toaster oven. It's really just for looks. They're expensive, but they're so beautiful, and everyone needs a toaster. I think it's really fun to add prints into spaces that you wouldn't necessarily put a picture, and so we added this little fun frame in here, and it's oranges, which ties into the kitchen and adds like a really nice color scheme, but I also feel like it adds a little bit more of detail to the space that you wouldn't necessarily see, instead of just having it say like sitting on the counter. I think it's kind of fun to have it tucked up in there. Then also everyone needs lots of cutting boards, and so I just store these back here. So I actually got this idea from a store here in Mount Pleasant, Charleston, and they had it filled with seashells and then these candles, and so I want to say they make these candles like themselves, or it's their own candle company, but this is the one. It's Summers by the Sea, and it smells heavenly, but I love the idea of adding seashells to the bottom and then having your candle set up there, so it gives that coastal vibe. And then what I really wanted to add into this space was an herb garden, and I'm not one to go all the way outside to get herbs, and so I created this own little herb garden here in my kitchen. So it's just a basket lined with some plastic on the bottom to catch the water, and then I have basil and mint and rosemary, and I just add a little bit water every day, and then I just snip them and add them to all of my cooking and recipes, and it's just a fun touch, and it also adds a lot of life and greenery to the kitchen. Within the last few months, I've really transitioned into making very cozy, warm styling content. I love showing how to elevate your life, whether that's from making a floral bouquet or doing a plate wall. Adding little touches to your life in any aspect is really the type of content I've leaned into, and it just makes me happy, and I feel like my audience really responds to that well. I just love creating a beautiful space, setting a table, anything like that is really my favorite type of content. I personally love a lot of color. As you'll see in my home, I think adding a fun pop of color to any space really adds and elevates it. I am also a huge candle person, and I think candles and flowers just really take it from a pretty home to an elevated space that makes it feel a little bit more put together. And next I want to show you guys my bedroom. Welcome to my bedroom. This corner when we moved in was a little bit of an odd spot. If you can see, it's hollowed out, and so we didn't really know what to do with the space. And our bathrooms have zero storage in them. So we found this really cool arched cabinet, and it filled the space perfectly, actually like ideally perfectly. And then it's not the most aesthetically pleasing, but it's filled with all my hair products, extra PR, skincare, towels, sheets, and so it's really just more so a necessary piece to have. And then up here, I'm obsessed with jelly cats, and my friend actually got this for me right when I moved here to Charleston for like sand castles, and it's a very sweet gesture, so I always have this up here too, and it adds a little bit of childish like whimsicalness just because everyone still needs that. Now over here we have our hamper, which holds obviously all of our laundry, and then this fun shelf. This plant was actually in my fiance's apartment last year. He needed a plant. He lived in a back corner room, and so we bought this one, and he looks after it like his own child. And so it's actually one of the most well-doing plants in our apartment because he loves this plant very dearly, and it's thriving over here. Then this is a really fun piece. It's a matchstick house. I don't know how I found this or really what it is, but I just think it's so adorable and fun, and I loved all the matches on it. And then we have a picture of our first actual photo together up here. And then this fun print is actually just from Target. I love the hydrangeas. Hydrangeas are one of my favorite flowers, as you'll see throughout my apartment. And I love the blues, and it really just complements the entire room and pulls it all together. This is my fiance's nightstand in his side of the bed. So this picture right here is actually his grandma's house in Norway. It's one of his favorite places in the world. So I thought adding that would be just a nice little reminder of home for him. As you can see, lots of hydrangeas. It's my favorite flower. And then we have this fun little poetry book a girl I'm friends with on Instagram made and sent it to me. It's called Talking with My Angels in the Bathtub, and I just think it's so beautiful, and a nice little elevated spot to bring some height to the corner. These lamps are from World Market, and I think they're so cool. When we bought them, I didn't know we were gonna go with full blue tones of the space, but I liked the height of it, and I liked the texture of the lampshades, so I think it just ties it all together really nicely. Moving on to my bedding, I'm a huge bed girl. I love spending time in my bed, so I needed sheets and bedding that really made me want to be in bed. And so all of the bedding is from a company called Piglet in Bed. Outside of this comforter is from a company called Joss & Main. So I love that with the company Piglet in Bed, you can mix and match all of their prints. So you can do a different top sheet, a different duvet, different pillow shams. So I love the mix of patterns. I think it's a really fun touch to the space and makes you just want to crawl in bed. I went back and forth on a headboard for a really long time, and we ended up finding this over Christmas break. It's from the company Joss & Main, and they were having major clearance. I think I got it for maybe $150. So it is a boucle material, and it really just warms up the space and adds a little extra coziness feel to the room. And then right above this, all of these prints are from a store here in Charleston. I think they're all painted onto the frames themselves. And I obviously live by the beach, and so I wanted to bring a little bit of beach into our bedroom, and I think they did just that. So actually these nightstands were my sister's, and she was gonna get rid of them, and so I said, I'll take them, they're free nightstands. So these were actually hers, and they're in pretty good condition. Down below here is actually my friend is getting married this summer, and so these were her proposal, like bridesmaids baskets. So I thought they were so cute, so I added that down here. And then again, I always have fresh flowers on my nightstand. I think it makes such a big difference, and everyone should start doing it. But you wake up and you see fresh flowers every morning. It's just the best way to start the day. So I have those and a fun little candle over here. And then I actually just picked these up the other day. They're actually vintage ashtrays, but I use them to put my ring on when I go to bed at night. So I have one here and then one in my bathroom as well. And I just think they're so beautiful and a fun little extra touch next to the bed. Next, we have this fun little frame that I added on this ribbon to make it look like it was hanging from it, which I think it just adds a little extra detail to that. So then in this corner here, we wanted to add in a mirror to help brighten up the room. Again, there's no overhead lighting in this room at all, and so the windows are right next to this mirror, so they bounce off of that, open up to the whole room. And this mirror is actually just from Amazon, and it fits the space perfectly. We have my dresser over here. It's actually from Wayfair. I loved the scallop edges, and I really just needed storage because our closets are pretty small here. So we added this in, and then we hung up our TV right here. And then this fun little frame, we just got our engagement photos back, so I obviously had to display them in here. And I love this frame too. The wicker, the pink, the scalloped edges, very me. Then this lamp is actually all from Target. So we actually just mix and match the lampshade and the base. We added a little bit of pink with this green checkered print lampshade. And then this was a fun thrift find a while ago. It's a little seashell, but I just have all my jewelry in it. And then again with the candle, these were originally coasters, but I added it with my candle on it, and it just adds a fun little extra texture to it. Then I just picked up this print back home in Illinois. I think it's so beautiful. I love anything of the ocean to add into our home. And then this frame is just from Target, and I think the bubbles on it are a fun way to add a little bit extra detail to just a regular frame. I love hosting, and I grew up with a mom that was basically my own Martha Stewart. She loved hosting. We always had people over. And so as I've aged and gotten to adulthood, I've realized the importance of hosting and just bringing people together. And so I wanted to create a space where I could bring my friends over, I could host dinner parties, I could host craft nights. And that was something that was really important to me, is I wanted a space in general that, like, in any direction you felt creative, it felt warm and inviting. So hosting for me was something that was very important. Now I'm going to show you guys to my office. Welcome to my office. Over here, I actually bought this quite a few years ago. It was in the kids section of Home Goods, and I loved the pink and I loved the wicker. And I love having a good bookshelf and a good bookshelf styling. I think it's very important. So up here we have a fun little head bust and lots of plants. We have so many cookbooks. I love cookbooks. And then another fun little details, we have a little lamp back there to add some light to it. And again, we have lots of more plants. Back here, I actually have this fun piece of artwork that I picked up when I was in Positano, and so it's just a painted archway down one of the streets in Positano. More plants, lots of fun little pieces down here, and then just a lot more books down there that we try to hide somewhat. Now, this is my little reading nook morning routine area. It's usually where I spend majority of my mornings, where I journal and write. This chair is from the company Sixpenny, and so it is a perfect lounge chair, and we got in this really pretty blue color. I could fall asleep in this chair. It's the best chair in the world. I swear by it. And then we added just on fun little pillows to add some more color to it. We have this fun lamp over here. It hangs over. We got this here in a store in Charleston. And again, I just love the little scalloped edges. It adds such a fun detail, just a regular overhanging lamp. And then we add in this print to add just a little bit more color to the room. I work from home, and I knew I needed a fun and colorful space to be creative. I thrive based off of creativity, and so I wanted a room that was very bright and open. So technically this could be a sunroom, but we made it into office/sunroom. So it's so fun having my desk facing out the windows. I love seeing the birds and the trees and the natural light. Over here, this fun lamp is from IKEA. It's such a different, unique light that I've ever seen. We have lots of little work stuff, so headphones, laptop, iPad, all the necessities. This pillow is actually from a store back home from my hometown. I think it's just so beautiful and different than I've seen. We have our Barefoot Dreams blanket on the back of the chair. These are the softest blankets in the world, so you always need that when you're working hard. So this table, I originally thought it was acrylic, so I thought it would be a plastic table, and when it arrived, it's actually an all glass table. It's beautiful, it's extremely heavy, but I just think it's such a fun, different piece than what I've seen, and I like that it doesn't block off your view of the window. It's all glass and clear, so you can kind of see straight through, which is really nice. So then over here, we have an acrylic book stand, so I have lots of my notebooks and journals over here. Obviously stationery stuff for pens, markers, that stuff. So then I have my glass calendar, which I still need to fill out for the month of May, but we have that over here. And then I created my own little mood workboard. So I printed off lots of pictures, I thrifted different prints, and I added different fabrics to it. And I think it just adds to the space. It's creative, I can add little notes to it. I have some of my fiance's notes, prayer and verses from my mom, and I just think it's a really sweet personal touch. So then this rug, I've always wanted a fun pink and checkered rug. We found this one, and it's actually the softest rug in our house. It's the perfect size. I love the little details of color to it, and it just fits the space really well. I feel like when you go around a house and you can see all the little personal touches and details, whether you got something from a trip to Europe or you have something that like your friend made you, I think adding the little home details that are personal to you, not just something you can go and buy at a Home Goods or a Target, but the stuff that you bring back from a vacation or something that your friend gave you, I think that really adds a soul and a personal touch and doesn't just make it any generic home, it makes it your home. Now I'm gonna take you guys outside to my patio. Welcome out to my patio. My patio is right off our bedroom, and I love being able to come out in the mornings just to this tranquil space. My number one thing for any apartment I've lived in is to always have a patio. I think they're such a fun addition to the homes. So, and I also strongly believe every patio needs a place to rest and relax and then a place to eat. So we added in this little egg chair. They're so comfortable to sit in. I usually do my morning journaling out here. I love to sit out here with a coffee. So I love this little corner of the space. Then we added in a big fern plant just to add some life to this corner. So then we have our little strawberry here. I always love a fun pop of color, so we did that with our strawberry stool here. Then this corner is kind of our plant corner. We have our strawberry plant up here that is struggling a little bit to produce the strawberries, but it is a strawberry plant. And I love having live plants. I think they're just such a fun touch. I wanted to create a very much Martha Vineyard, Martha Garden vibe out here, and I think we kind of achieved that. I am always really inspired by Martha Stewart, and so I wanted to create an outside vineyard and garden out here. So one thing she always talks about is terracotta planters. So we have a couple down here, and then I also thrifted some china plates that we added the plants to sit on, which is a fun different element to it. Next up, we have our dining table out here. This we actually got from Home Goods a couple of years ago, and we added in a nice little tablecloth. This isn't here all the time because I don't want it to get dirty, but it's fun to have dinner parties out here. And so I love a mix of, this is lavender and plants, and then we have this really nice candle with the wicker base around it. Again, another thrifted plate out here. And this is kind of just our outdoor dining setup for right now. This pillow is from Target, and then we have another lobster pillow over there that's actually from World Market. Being born and raised in the Midwest, I am not accustomed to the plants and bugs down here in Charleston. So this patio was actually all exposed, and we have lots of trees right next to us. So one of my requests for sitting out here was that we added up a netting. So if you can tell, we bought this netting off of Amazon. It was $20, and we just stapled it to the walls because it's all wood. And it works really well. We haven't really had any bugs out here besides little mosquitoes, but it worked really nicely. This is the entryway to my home. It's right when you enter our front door. We added this little hook to hang bags and totes right when you enter in. We actually found this little wicker basket off of Amazon and added these fake flowers just to add a little bit more of life to the room. Then my mom actually found these two prints. So they're both swan and I think ducks maybe prints. And I love the stacked look. I think they're just such a fun and unique piece. I've never seen a print like this, and so I love that space. We added this rug. It's actually just from Amazon, but I believe it's a family-owned business, and it is beautiful. I'm obsessed with the color and the pattern of it, so we added this one in. And then over here, this picture is actually from my parents' bedroom, and I took it off the wall when I was moving because I needed it, and I needed the bright, beautiful blue skies and ocean, so we added that space in. And it fills this wall really well, and it brightens up the space right when you walk in our home. A home for me is a place that I look around and I feel myself and even my fiance in this space. This is our first home together, and so I wanted to create an atmosphere that it was very us. So as you look around, there's lots of little details that we have picked out together. They're sentimental, and for me, I want a space where I come home and I just feel the most at peace. And so that for me is really what a home means. Homeworthy, it was so fun having you, but I have to get back to the kitchen now, so you gotta go. Bye!
Good morning, Homeworthy. I'm Raven. Welcome to my home in Charleston.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Raven Roxanne, and I live in Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm an artist. My home in Charleston is, I think it was built in 1875. It's Victorian. We did a renovation about 7 years ago. It's a little modern, but also trying to be kind and thoughtful of its history. The process of finding any home in Charleston is very challenging, also fun. We had a house on kind of the opposite side of town and knew that we were ready to sell that property. And we really loved this neighborhood. So at the time, my husband had a motorcycle, so we would drive around the neighborhood and like look at the houses and then look at Zillow and say, okay, that one would work, that one's too big, or that one's too small, or whatever. And we kind of knew that we liked this house just because we really liked the street. And then we got a call from our realtor one day that it was about to go into market. So we were able to scoop it before it went to market. And we really liked the house because it wasn't a Charleston single. This house is nice because the house is on, the staircase is on the side. And so you really get this like kind of modern flow, which is pretty unique for the home. And then we also, dreamy, there's triple hung windows throughout the home. It's very bright for a Charleston house because a lot of Charleston homes have just windows on one side, so the house next to it has privacy. But this house has a pretty good amount of windows on both sides. So the rooms are big, they're very airy. We lightened the floors, which I think are beautiful. So we took the original pine and just kind of sanded them down to their original color, and then did like a light wax on top. So they have a lightness, which you kind of don't see a lot in Charleston homes because they have that red, like orangey color in the traditional homes. Yeah, I think that this house is perfect for family, and it really lives in a modern way, which is a unique benefit with this house in Charleston. This is my living room. It's the front of the house. It has a beautiful bay window. We had a friend help us with the initial design. Her name is Melissa Sutton, and we call this the Melissa chair because this is her favorite chair. I think my dog pretty much lives in this chair now, so kind of his chair. This is my big plant. I think I've had this plant for like 14 years. Me and my girlfriend, it was like one of our first like friend dates. We went to a plant store, got plants, repotted them, and she's still going strong. So I'm very proud of her. And I just like spin her around each like couple of months to like keep her growing in different positions. This is a painting I did a couple years ago. One of my best friends, Blake, gave me some tulips, and at the time I'd been painting tulips a lot, but he gave me those tulips, and they just were so beautiful. So I painted them and thought that I would sell the painting, but just never could sell it because it's just too meaningful to me. One of my favorite potters, Jenny Sims, and made those candlesticks. This is again another egg collective table, and then a bowl that my sister-in-law just gave me. I think it was for Christmas, and then we just like filled it with treasures, which my son, who's 3, like this bowl gets used a lot because he just loves adding to the treasures and putting them all throughout the house. So, oh yeah, and then this is such a cool plant. It's a 200-year-old sage plant. My friend just gave it to me, and I'm obsessed with him, but I'm also a little scared of him because that's just 200 years. Like, that's a lot of responsibility. So my mom actually just recently fell in love with this plant and would have taken it from me if she could have put it in her car. But now she just like texts me once a week and is like, "Did you water your plant?" And so this is my big responsibility, other than my children. And then this piece is from my husband's mountain house, his family mountain house. They ended up selling a couple years ago. We took this piece from it, and I just love how quiet it is. It feels like the snow just just landed, and it hasn't. Nobody's walked through it, and it's just this like quiet morning, which I think is a good tone for this room of entering the house and just kind of this like calmer moment. We used Portola paint for the walls, so it just has this like kind of cloud-like effect, and so I liked this piece here. This is a Frances Palmer vases, which I love her work and think that she is such a cool artist. My friend gave me this little bird years and years ago. Her family does pottery, I think out of Mississippi, and I just think this is such a beautiful bird. I love the glaze. It's just kind of creamy and pretty. This is a shark's tooth. We went shark's tooth hunting for Father's Day this year, and we really only found one. So this is a painting that I just love. I think it's John Mitchell is the artist, and he is out of New Jersey. I love his work so much. Like, I could collect them for years and years, but my husband gave this to me for Christmas, and I just like this tiny painting on a big wall. It's kind of cute. All right, do y'all want to come to the dining room? This is our dining room. The table is actually, my husband came from the mountain house, the same one that the painting came from, and it's cool because you can put 2 more leaves in here. So I think we've had 23 people at this dining table, which is pretty cool. And then this piece is a gift that my husband gave me for Christmas. It's a BDW piece. He is, I think out of his studio's in Philly, but he has this beautiful store in Soho. But I love his work, so I was really excited about I think his name is Tyler Hayes. I was really excited about this piece. This came from my parents' gallery, and I forgot the artist's name, but I think it's such a cool piece of pottery. I love pottery, and I could just collect and collect and collect, and I will collect and collect and collect. This is Melissa Wise. She's out of Asheville. Very cool potter. I have a couple of her pieces. This bowl came from one of my best friends, Blake, the guy that gave me the tulips. He just gave me this for my birthday, and it's such a large bowl, and there is a lot of citrus here. So after you leave, we will maybe make a cake. I don't know. I do make an olive oil cake out of using grapefruit, so maybe I'll make that. Or my neighbors will get a bunch of citrus soon. A lot of our pieces in our house are either from our family. So like this is my grandmother's couch, and then so this was like the starting point of this room. So how do we kind of take this kind of older piece that was in my grandmother's and like kind of make it work for us? So we kind of did more modern, like mid-century chairs, and then we had an artist make our coffee table. I think that I tried to like ground each room or each kind of space with something that is meaningful, and then kind of add to it. I think people are surprised that my house is a little bit more minimal than they would think because of being an artist and I guess my personality. But I keep saying that my like house is gonna be really cool when I'm in my 70s. So I like want to collect over time and just be kind of thoughtful and not, each piece kind of, I don't tend to just like finish a room. Like it's kind of is collected over time, definitely. Here's our kitchen. It is one of my favorite rooms in the house because it has a great, beautiful light. It has this big worktop that is so nice. We have the coffee station. We take our coffee very seriously, and I love that it's like tucked in this little nook. One of my favorite pottery. I love collecting cups, and then when friends come over for coffee, being like, picking out the mug that I think that they should have. So this is one of my favorites. My brother and his wife gave me this one, which I love. This was Jenny Sims. We talked about her pottery earlier. Love her. My parents gave me this with the raven on it. This one is from my parents. I think this was like the 80s, which is like such 80s pottery, which is just, I love it. It might be 90s. I don't know, but I love that mug. This is a cool one. The way the potter, like, I think he almost like used wood or something. I don't know, but I just think this is such a cool piece. But my husband makes me coffee every morning. I'm very lucky. So this is kind of his little station, which is nice. And I just got these. I think they're so pretty. Scared to use them though, but they're so pretty. And my little stack of pottery. And then, I love my stove. It's the LeConte stove. Oh yeah, and then this piece, my friend Sully Sullivan, he's a photographer here in Charleston, and we wanted this big piece of art, big photo here, because if you, like when you walk in the front door, you see this piece of art. And so we looked through his catalog and we just couldn't figure out the perfect piece. And he was like, well, why don't we just make something? And we were like, that would be amazing and very cool. So this is an old building on East Bay Street. I think they're making it a restaurant, which will be cool. But at the time it was empty. And so they let us kind of, like all of this was here. I think he moved like one piece of furniture away. And then we had a friend that did the flowers, and then I twirled. One of my favorite spaces in the house is my playroom. It is so bright and happy and playful. And we spend so much time in that room because I have young children. So it just kind of is it's a very joyful room to be in, even before it became like the playroom. And now it is fun and silly and like not too serious. It also is our guest room. So when my parents come to stay, we we fold out the couch, and so it's really fun in the morning because like it's where all their toys are. And then when grandma and grandpa, or pops and grandmama is what we call them, are here, they just get like so excited to just like run back there. So that, I think that room is probably my favorite room in the house. This room I love because it's peaceful, it's quiet, it's usually kind of clean, which less like toys and mess in this room. So it is like a nice quiet room for the eye. Welcome to the green room. It's our den. And I wanted it to just be like very cozy, very cave-like. This is where we watch movies. A lot of the house is bright and airy, which I love, and my husband kind of likes cozier spaces, so this was kind of the cozier space for the home. It's right off the kitchen. We did green all over. It was my husband's birthday yesterday, and so me and my 3-year-old and 1-year-old made him a sign, which is fun. I don't know why Dada Machine happened, but it's, 3-year-old's brains. This is a nest I painted. Gosh, I probably did that painting at least 8 years ago. But it is just like very much like how I want my paintings to feel, how I want my home to feel, just like messy and beautiful and energetic and interesting, but also this like warmth and coziness to it. So I've kind of always had this piece in my house. At the time I had no children and I did 4 eggs, and now there's 4 of us, which is cute to think about. One day I'm going to make the album, but right now I just print the pictures and put them in a bowl, which has been really cute because my son loves going through them. And then, blocks to stack to keep them busy. And then a big bowl of amethyst from my uncle who passed during COVID. And then this plant that I really do need to cut. I know I need to cut it, but she's just become so weird and interesting and cool that I just kind of kept her in her weird state. So she should be coming up, but she's just weird and quirky, and we're letting her be her. If y'all want to come to our desk area, which is down the hall. So we added this kind of after we did the renovation because we needed a spot to do the mail, and honestly, this is kind of stacked up. Usually it's pretty right now, but because we have guests. I know. And then my mom's been doing this great thing. So my mom's also an artist, and so she's been sending my son postcards, and she's doing one for each letter of the alphabet. This is English is courageous, so that's C. And then English loves dinosaurs, and this one's really cool. English is the best for B. So that's really cool. Hopefully she does all of the letters, and then I can make a book or something cool. Yeah, but we just kind of keep our books stacked, and this is kind of like a drop zone, work zone. This is where all the coats go and for during winter. And I loved doing the caning on the doors. I thought that was really pretty. Some more pottery, because the pottery, my cookbooks, my changing table, which is this, and then we just added, it's just a IKEA changing table, but I added a skirt, which I think helps kind of make it more fun and cool and interesting. And then it leads into our playroom. Do you want to come to our playroom? Really enjoying the sunshine. Always finding a sunny spot, right? Is there a playroom? I wanted this room to be like a garden room, so that's kind of why the furniture is the way it is, but then I just wanted to load the art. So I kind of noticed that I actually really do like a blank wall being an artist. I think that having blank walls, especially in spaces that I'm in a lot, kind of is, if there's too much art, sometimes I feel a little overwhelmed because I think about art so much and think about paintings, and that's just what I do for a living. So I loved the idea of this room just being full of art. So one day I just want every piece, every wall, everything to be full of art. Again, I will collect over time. So right now this is my art collection, which is really fun. I got the black ducks because my son's first words were duck. So I thought that was cute. And it's a cool artist. Kate Boxer is her name, and she's an older woman from England, and I just thought she was so cool. This is where guests sleep. We just fold this out, and this becomes a guest room, but it's a playroom, so it's this room is just used and chaotic and crazy. And last week there was paint everywhere because my 1-year-old got this paint stick and this colored on everything. It was very comical and very much like what you would see in a movie. And it came off really easily, which was nice. This is Alex Wagner She is an artist, used to live here, but now she lives in Atlanta. But I had commissioned this because my husband's family had this really cool shack beach house on Sullivan's that they sold a couple years ago. And I just thought it was the coolest house. I loved it. It was actually, I think, maybe the most sad when they sold it. So I commissioned this just to kind of like memorize. It had this it had this like tiny little palm tree and then these pineapples made out of concrete. It was just such a charming, cool old house, and I just loved it. My brother made me this for my son because this was his favorite toy, and for like a solid year he just held this little blue sheep forever. So my brother's Baxter Wilson, and he is a great, phenomenal artist, and I really love that piece because it's just sweet that he carried this little blue sheep around. This is a really cool artist out of Key West. Her name is Susie DePoo, and she did all the textile and patterning for Lily Pulitzer in like probably the 60s and 70s. Anyways, she was a dear friend of the family, and she did, this is my uncle and his son in this piece, and I love this piece. I was really excited to have it. And then I bought this turtle off this artist from England on Instagram, and he wrote me, and I was just like, oh, I just love the turtle. I think it was like in the back of his studio or something, and I was like, can I buy the turtle? And he was like, I think he just wrote back, he was like, the turtle has good juju or something like that, and I just thought it was really funny and fun and wonderful. My mom painted this of my dog, Lily. Louisa Dunn, she's an artist here in Charleston. She's a dear friend. She's a neighbor, so I see her a lot, which is fun. I did the birds. This was just, I love this wall because it's just like people I love and things I love. So I could go on for days. And then this is a friend of mine, Teal. She used to live in Charleston. We actually went to college together, so we've painted together for a long, long time. She lives in Columbus, Georgia now, but this is one of her pieces. And I'm from Florida, so this feels very much like my hometown in Florida. So when she did it, I kind of was like, okay, and that one is mine. I think I actually just like kind of took it out of her studio and love it. I love it in this room. Lots of art supplies for the kids. Again, dangerous for keeping them out. Like, again, I should have learned my lesson with the 1-year-old, but it was fun. Big color pencils. Yeah. Oh, these pieces were from that beach house that they sold. These two floral pieces were in that beach house. And when they were selling it, I was like, I really want those paintings. And I think they just look so wonderful together. And I like how, like, I don't know, they're a lot, very joyful. Okay, if you want to, you can come to our bathroom downstairs because it has some really cool wallpaper. And then, and we're past the blue staircase, which is fun. I have always wanted to be an artist. My parents have had an American craft gallery for almost 49 years, I think. I always joke my first words were, hey, how are you? How can I help you? Like, I grew up in this space, like grew up in the gallery, grew up selling art. My mom's an artist. My brother's an artist. Like, we definitely are. We like to paint and make things in our family. So I knew it was always going to be some part of my life, but I went to art school at Auburn and then went to Atlanta and had a couple different jobs and then moved to Charleston and had some friends that were painting and had studios and creating. So I kind of got looped back in with them. And honestly, I have a great community of friends that are artists in Charleston, and then we all share a studio. And that has really, I think, I've always known I've wanted to paint, but I think making it a career and having a community around it has really helped the career like kind of take shape and take life, because I am kind of social, and I think that being an artist can be a lonely job. Like, you're in your studio making things all day. So having people around me and like a supportive family and living in Charleston has really made like it kind of solidify like why or how or if I could make this a career. So this is our cool blue staircase. I'm obsessed with the color. My husband also loves blue. It brings him a lot of joy. So we had this like cool weird staircase in the back of our house, and my friend Blake was like, what if we painted it blue? And I said, that would be amazing. So he kind of helped with this part. His name's Blake Sams, and he helped with this part of the design. he came up with the idea of doing cork, which I love because it kind of feels like you're in this like tree, very dark kind of cozy space. And then doing the blue staircase, which is brilliant. It's an Yves Klein blue, which there's like only one person making, or one factory making the actual color of Yves Klein blue. So we had to like order it from Paris, and they had to do like 10 coats, and it was ridiculous and beautiful and a lot of joy. And then we did this really cool wallpaper in here. It's a Pierre Freight wallpaper, and I think it's Picasso's drawings. And I think it's such a cool wallpaper. We just did this renovation. So Blake helped us with this kind of area, and he helped to renovate this bathroom kind of in the last year. The tub that was in here didn't work anymore, and so I wanted something for my parents that was easier to get in and out, so we did the standing shower. And then this actually piece was cool. This is from Thomas's, went on like an antique like shopping with his mom and found this piece, and so then we just made it into a sink, which is cool as kind of memory of her. But yeah, so it's a fun little bathroom. One of the best things about Charleston and the homes are the big porches. So we were really excited to have this porch. It kind of runs along the side of the house. But they're kind of skinny, so I ended up having to work with an artist to make, our furniture builder, to make a table that was skinny enough. So we used Ben Little to make us, or Benjamin Little, and he made us this table, which is great. So it kind of fits in, but like my kids can still take their like bikes and stuff and run around it, because they kind of like on rainy days, this becomes like a track, just like of all the running things where they were just running up and down the porches, which is actually really fun and cute. But yeah, so, and then we have a pool, which is nice. If you're gonna walk back here, you can see the pool. And then we have like 2 lemon trees around the pool. And then my mom, so my daughter's name is Sunday Clementine. And when she was born, she gave me a clementine tree, which is really fun and sweet. So, yeah. Welcome to the entry of my home. We actually just painted the entry. It was white, and just painted it cord by Farrow & Ball, which I think just like the perfect color for this space. It really warmed it up, but it's kind of one of those colors. It's a color without being a color. It's kind of dirty. It's perfect. I'm really excited about this color. And so when we bought the house, this was a wall, like where you're standing was a wall, and there was like a small doorway there. And so we added the arches, which are really fun. This light fixture is Workstead, which they're out of Charleston as well. I think their lights are manufactured in Virginia, but they're between New York and Charleston. These lights are so pretty. So Melissa Sutton, who helped me with the original design, who's a dear friend, the Melissa Chair, she makes lights now, and it's called Rilo. They're out of Charleston. These are beautiful stone marble. Gorgeous. I was very excited about these 2 pieces. And then just like a little mirror that I think I found from a dealer in Charlotte. And I think it's like from the 70s, and I thought it was cool with our just little bench. And then this is where I keep all my stuff to walk my dog. We have a front door, and then it just kind of flows right into the kitchen, which is nice. We have a little Harry Potter closet that we like. I basically shoved a bunch of stuff in for y'all to come over, but it's kind of our pantry, and then you come into our kitchen. My signature style, or I guess my style, is like always developing. I think like with anything. Right now, I'm obsessed with working on raw canvas, so doing a lot of pouring. Really love Helen Frankenthaler. Like this is one of my pieces behind me. So I work on paper and raw canvas right now, and I've been doing that for years. I kind of go back and forth between like florals, or I think a lot of the things that I'm interested with why I make art is kind of like the everyday and making it beautiful. So like a grocery store flower, like a tulip, that like I think is really beautiful, almost like the day you should throw it away, like when it's all wilted and like weird. Favorite time for the flower. So like I like love doing that, or like painting that or capturing that. Or I paint these like abstracted bird's nests that are about like the messiness of home and how home and life and love is just not perfect, and that's where the beauty is. So I paint that series, or I just did a mother and child series, which was really fun, and that was new, and that was really just because like my baby is growing and like doesn't fit my arms the same, and just like wanting to like capture and try to hold on to that moment of them just like being small, because like babies grow and that is what they do. But and then right now too, I'm working on a tulip magnolia series, which is just like, that's like the first little bud of spring. Like, you know, spring's coming because there's like tulip magnolias. It's out my kitchen window. It's one of my favorite places. And they always bloom during my birthday, which I love. Oh, and the dogwood's blooming right now, which I really love. So just being like, okay, that is something that's sparking a lot of joy for me. Like, how can I bring this in the studio and capture it, I guess, is where I'm working. And then the way I'm working is a lot of like pouring of paint and then mixing my own paints and working with inks and acrylics and pastels. So kind of mixed media work, but a lot of times letting the paint kind of do the painting for me. So doing like pouring water and then pouring the paint in is kind of where it's like lack of control is where I'm like playing with right now. I hope you enjoyed my home tour, and now I'm going to take you over to my studio. Hi y'all, welcome to my studio. It's about a 7-minute walk from my home, and let me show you the space. This is our common area. I share the studio with Blakely Little, Blakely Made, and is her website. And Luli Wallace's team, Megan, is also in this space too. So it's really fun. We have lots of fun, but this is kind of the common area. It looks really pretty right now, but usually this is where we pack and ship all the art. And then we have like little hidden cubbies back here where we just like do our, you know, like all the packing materials and our prints and everything like that is kind of tucked in here. But we have lunch every day here. This, like, if you miss lunch at the studio, it's kind of my most sad part of, it's my favorite part of the day. So if I miss lunch, I'm very sad. So, which is fun. We like a bunch of girls just chatting about like social media or like celebrities, and it's fun. Anyways, okay, so this is my space, this is my studio. I'm currently working on Tulip Magnolia series right now. So I'm kind of working, I work usually with things flat, so I either lift them or work from the ground. I like the ground because that kind of gives me a perspective of things, but I'm working with a lot of water, acrylic, pastels, and just kind of making this like kind of, I wanted this series to be like, if you, it's very polleny here in Charleston right now, and I wanted this series to be like, if you sneeze and you look at a tulip magnolia, so it's like very watery and like just like kind of how the season is right now. So this is the series I'm working on right now. And then this is like a series I just finished. It was the mother and child, so it was just kind of, I think I talked about it a little bit earlier when I was at the house, but again, this is work on raw canvas, and these are some of the bigger pieces. I think the purple one has sold. I think we're shipping her out tomorrow to Washington, D.C., but these two are going to a new store that just opened. And we're gonna put them in the space for Mother's Day, which is gonna be fun. And I also work on paper. So this is, I'm just starting a piece. I kind of just kind of like a shape for the background and then work from there. I mix my own colors and kind of keep everything in these plastic jars. So I can kind of mix like different types of paint or inks or whatever to kind of get the consistency I want. And then kind of store them here, which is nice. I love storing my pastels in these baskets with rice, so I can like kind of see them and they can live in a way that is easy for me to grab. Oh yeah, here are some mother and child. So along with the bigger pieces, I did some drawings from the series, and I framed them in a maple frame. It's on an Arches like cream paper, which is one of my favorite paper to work with. A favorite paintbrush, so just a big pile of paintbrushes. My travel palettes for when I'm painting watercolors, which is pretty. Oh yeah, and then these are some of the Paperworks So I kind of start with the paperwork and then I move to the canvas. So this is kind of what I was working on before I moved to the canvas. I really thought this was cool. This was a super rainy day that I painted this one, and it just kind of like, I felt like I really captured that day when I worked on this piece. These is kind of how they started, which they were like very like kind of modelly and layered. That's where they were starting, and then I've kind of gotten away from this kind of feeling of like really layered and watery to like more of actually like capturing more of the flower. So, and also the flower that I was working with was more like puffy, kind of cloud-like, and then the ones that were like blooming in my yard were more like tulips. So I guess that's like more of I just different varieties of the flower. But then my assistant Ellie helps me, and she works here. The daybed I bought off a auction. I got really aggressive and didn't realize, I just kind of wanted to win, you know? And then I got it and was like, okay, what do I do with it now? And now it's in my studio. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite fabrics. I bought it for my house, but my husband didn't really like the fabric, so I was like, perfect, it's for the studio, and it brings me a lot of joy, and I actually spend a lot of time there. A lot of time when I was pregnant was spent on that daybed. Yeah, but this is my studio. Thanks for coming. For me, home is messy, family, my animals, joy, and comfort. Well, Homeworthy, it's great having you, and I will see you next time.
Today on Homeworthy, we're taking you to sunny Charleston, South Carolina, to tour the vibrant apartment of software consultant and content creator Sadie Loving. As soon as Sadie stepped inside, she immediately knew this apartment was the one. With a love of color and inspired by her mother, an artist, she's filled her space with bold hues and unique artwork. Join us as Sadie shares some of her favorite finds that beautifully reflect her personality. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Sadie. Welcome to my apartment in Charleston, South Carolina. Come on in, let me show you around. Hi, I'm Sadie Loving. I work in software consulting and do content creation on the side, and welcome to my home in Charleston, South Carolina. Well, I'm originally from Richmond, Virginia, and I went to USC, South Carolina, not Southern California. And I just wanted to get back down here after being in Richmond a few years after college, so I really wanted to find a unique, historical, older Charleston house to live in, or apartment, and kind of stumbled upon this one when I was down here actually for a bachelorette weekend, and I was like, I'll rent it if you'll let me have it. So I love it, and it has so much character. My mom definitely inspires me the most. My house growing up was super colorful and gorgeous and had all of this original art. She's an oil painter. And so you'll notice around the house there's tons of original oil paintings that she has painted me over the years, or I have stolen from her studio when she's not looking. But everything has made me want so much art in my house, and you'll notice that throughout. There's lots of art. Welcome to my living room. I have lots of stuff in here. My friends make fun of me because I have so many little tchotchkes and fun stuff that I've collected, but that's what makes me happy. So let's walk around and kind of see some of my fun treasures. I love to have a very full coffee table. I feel like that's kind of what I'm known for. I just started mahjong, so of course I had to display my tiles there. I am obsessed. Everyone should learn. So much fun. I also buy tons of coffee table books everywhere I go. I literally have them stacked to the brim under here. This is probably my favorite, actually. This is like an Hermes pop-up, and it's crazy. Like, it moves, and it never even gets seen because it's just under my coffee table. But I love it, and it's just adds a fun, bright color to the space. I've always wanted just like a simple white couch because I feel like there's so much color everywhere. So I wanted something simple. I thought this was cozy. This is my first big girl apartment. So I was like, this is perfect. Let me just get a white couch. And I've already stained it a zillion times. So I don't know if I would recommend, but it's cute. I love this pillow too. I actually just got it and it makes me laugh so hard because I'm like, I am down to have some wine, but you gotta leave by 11 because I need to go to sleep. So I think this is the perfect little warning sign. Okay, over here, I have, this is probably Tchotchke Nation right here. So I have this little TV console and I just have tons of stuff stacked, but I really wanna show you the star of the show. This is my gold pig. I actually got this at a store here in Charleston and they have them in the window and I was like, I'm a Charleston girl now, so I deserve a gold pig. Over here, I really want to show you guys this. I'm a big matches girl. There's matches everywhere through my apartment. I have collected a ton, as you can see here. So I made some for my apartment, which I think everyone should do. It's so fun. People come over for a party or drinks and you're like, here you go. It says stolen from Sadie's, and then the back has some little champagne and says Charleston on it. So anyone that stays with me, I always sneak some of these into their bag when they're leaving. There is so much art in my house, as I mentioned, and this is literally my favorite ever. It's been in my apartment since I graduated from school. This is by my mom, Laura Lowe Paintings. She is an oil painter out of Richmond, and it is just the most gorgeous painting. She always uses these touches of hot pink, which I love and I think ties in all the hot pink that I have in this apartment. So I love this. And then I love to mix my art with pricier pieces to a Target painting that I might find or just a print. So you'll find over here, which in my kitchen, that's just right over here a few steps away, is this kind of gallery wall that I've put together. So I've collected things all over, like this is an Etsy print. This is from a great artist, Philana Ruth, that I love. And then there's just prints that I've collected over the years. So I love to mix and match and have everything kind of pull together all the colors. Over here, you'll find my little cocktail bar. I just got this custom print, Philana Ruth as well. She made it for me. I'm obsessed. I love all things Veuve. I'm obsessed, and I went when I was in France a few months ago. So I have a lot of gorgeous Veuve things. I got champagne problems, which I think is so funny. Big Swiftie as well. But I love this area. It brings me happiness because it reminds me of having fun with my friends. And I'm always down to have a glass of wine with the girls after a long day of work or whatever they want to do. In the living room, I have lots of different acrylic pieces. I think this really helps in a small space. This is, as you've seen, a tiny little apartment, but the acrylic coffee table really opens everything up. And then I have these little side tables too, which is just so nice. So you're not trying to move around. And I feel like you can find these everywhere. They're a great price point, and just really brightens it up somehow. I guess the clearness. So this is actually maybe the best part of my apartment. It gets drafty in here. This is an old apartment. So I ordered a little fake fireplace. I can turn it on for you. It's from Amazon and it warms up this entire room. It's amazing. And I think it looks like a real fireplace, so it kind of just pulls in with the decor. I love it. I have a few different rugs in here. This one is actually from Amazon. I am obsessed. It's so nice and great, and I think it keeps like the beachy vibe of Charleston. I also have little rugs all over. So I have this little cheetah one. I just love this in front of the mirror, you know, just brightens everything up. I actually have a really cute one in the kitchen, which you're probably not supposed to put a nice rug in the kitchen, but I did. And this one is my favorite that I bought actually when I found I was moving down here. It's from KES Collections, and it brightens my morning every morning when I walk on it to make coffee. Okay, another thing that I'm obsessed with is needlepoint. I don't needlepoint because I just am so bad, but I love a needlepoint pillow. So you'll see that those are all over my apartment. This one my mom's friend actually made, and it's really true about me. I want it all and I want it all delivered. And I'm sure my landlord could tell you about the packages that are on my porch. My favorite thing about my home is definitely all my knickknacks and little things that I've collected on travels and trips. I love a good coffee table book. I love something cool that I find at an antique shop and love to display it on some shelves around my house. I really think that art makes a home come alive. I think that walls that are covered in different gorgeous paintings or prints or photos of your family, just anything that covers the walls that makes you think of happy times, I think really makes the house feel special and makes each house unique. All right, and now we can head down the hallway, which is one of my favorite parts because of this glorious rug. This is Ballard Designs, and I love an animal print just to kind of tie everything together. And this is a long hallway, so I feel like it really brightens it up. I have a little gallery wall here as well. I went to the Arrows store, which was amazing. Had to frame that so I can think about it every single day. Follow me this way to my bedroom. All right, welcome to my bedroom. Obviously my favorite room because this bed is so comfy. I love to make the bedroom just like as personal and funky and crazy as possible because it's for me. So I went with a kind of chaotic bed assortment. This is a Rode duvet by West Elm. I am obsessed with it. I think it's such a fun pattern. I always have a chappy wrap on my bed. These blankets literally give me life. I'm obsessed. And then I just keep everything else kind of white so that these can be the pop of color. These are MFW Designs, which I'm obsessed with. And then this is Scout Design Studio. And I'm sorry that it says an inappropriate word, but it's so funny. And I've had it at every apartment I've had for like the past 5 years. So I love it. Over here, you'll find my vanity. This is where I sit and do my makeup. It's a mess, so I tried to clean it for you, but it's just such a fun little spot. It's really sunny in here, so I like to just take the morning, do my skincare, whatever, and this hot pink always brings me some joy. Okay, so one of the things I love about this apartment when I toured it is these shades were already in here, and again, I was talking about that beachy vibe with the living room. I love that these kind of bring that coastal energy that I wanted with my Charleston apartment, so I think these really like brighten up the room and just, I love them. And then I also have another Lara Lowe paintings in here. This is a Virginia print that she pasted on the canvas and then painted over, again with that hot pink that I love. And everyone's always asking me about this and I'm like, I'm sorry, it's one of a kind, but she made it for me and it reminds me of my Virginia roots, which I love. This rug is another Amazon find. I am an Amazon rug girl because I do spill things all the time. I eventually hope to invest in a gorgeous rug like this that's real, but this is just an Amazon one and I can't recommend it enough. The rug I love because it also ties in with the bedside tables. These are vintage. I got them at an antique store. They were already painted this pink and I was like, okay, well this fits my vibe perfectly. So I literally shoved them into my tiny car with every inch of my being and somehow made them here. So they are the best and I love these little poles. They're awesome. When I moved to Charleston, I ended up replacing my lamps that were in here and I got these actually at Mount Pleasant Mall in Charleston, which is the best if you love looking at knickknacks and fun home stuff. So I got these and they've been such a fun addition in here and I'm loving pulling stuff from Charleston into my apartment. Okay, so this is a new addition to my apartment. I literally put this together 2 weeks ago and I did it myself, which I'm amazed by because it looks really legit, but I needed a place to put my purses. Everyone knows the purses are just thrown on the back of the door craziness and I love to display them because they're so colorful. So I got this on Amazon. People think I have a purse problem and maybe I do, but that's okay. We all know the infamous chair where you just throw all your stuff on it when you're getting ready. This is mine. Right now it's really clean. But this is from Rifle Paper Co. and I love it. I think it's just fun to mix all these patterns because once you have 3 or 4 patterns, you might as well just have a million. So this is a fun little pop of color and a nice little stool to throw your bag on or whatever. I am one of those people that is always scrolling the Anthropologie sale section. And I saw this mirror and I thought it would be perfect in here to kind of open up the room. It's pretty much, I only have 2 mirrors in here. So I grabbed this. I love this squiggle design and like the wood. I feel like it ties in with the shades and it's just such a good little accessory. This is one of my dressers. This is also something that I picked up at an antique store And I just love the bright blue. I mean, if I'm gonna have color, I might as well have a ton of it. And then, of course, the coffee table books made it into the bedroom. I love these. They just brighten up the space. And I keep my perfumes and a few candles. And this painting really ties it all together. It's actually a print with paint, and then I think they used like chalk or something, but it's really fun, funky, I love it. All right, and if you follow me this way, I'll show you my bathroom. All right, welcome to my bathroom. I really wanted to just keep this simple, which is shocking for me, and you're probably gonna say it's not that simple, but you can come on in. I really wanted everything to match, so I got a bunch of Wheezy towel stuff. It's the best, and I just think it's very chic. So I did my initials. My mom was like, no one's ever gonna be able to use anything that you bought because you put your initials on everything, and I was like, that is just the story of my life. So I'm sorry about that to everyone. But I got it all monogrammed. I think it's so great. And then this hamper is the best because it just blends right in and it's covered. I have a few art pieces in here too. Can't leave the bathroom without art, right? So my friend actually made me this match print. And then this is a Barbie and Ken print that I got in New York. But everything, it's pretty small in here, but everything kind of fits. I got this great towel shelf from IKEA, and it's just like such a fun color. I feel like it ties in all the blues and everything. So I love the bathroom. I think it's a fun, happy place. When I toured the apartment, the walls were blue, and I was like, okay, can we keep that? And my landlord was like, I'm actually gonna paint it white with like a waterproof paint or whatever. And I was like, please, can you keep the blue? And he was like, let me see if I can find waterproof blue. And he did. And I'm so glad because I've always wanted like a blue bathroom or like a colorful bathroom. So it's great. Seriously think every house I've ever rented has had this tile in the bathroom. Maybe that's a sign. Like, I'm sure you guys have all been in a bathroom or rented a bathroom that is like this. It's so classic and I love it. All right, and now let's check out my porch. This is such a classic Charleston porch, and that was one of the things that I was dying for. It does get really hot here in Charleston, so it's great to sit out here and just take in the fresh air. I have a little barista table down here, and then just some cute rockers. I just love being out here, and I love being outside, and especially with a small space, it's great to have a place where you can get out, so I love it out here. Home to me definitely means being with loved ones, being with friends, hosting. My favorite thing to do is have my friends over and just enjoy the space with some cocktails or a nice meal. I just love having people over, and that really makes this home feel alive to me. Homeworthy, it was so much fun showing you around my apartment in Charleston, South Carolina, but I gotta get back to my day job, so you gotta go. Bye!
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.